Where are the world's best investors putting their money right now, and should we consider investing in some of those stocks too? Let's go ahead and break it down. So, we have the ability to track and see what some of the world's biggest investors, some of these billionaire hedge fund owners, put their money, and we are able to analyze and see whether or not it might make sense. So I have a list of the top 5 stocks that billionaire investors are buying right now in the most recent quarterly report that we have, and I have some thoughts on what you might want to consider adding to your watch list, and one major con why you might not want to add every single one of these to your portfolio. So first on the list, and I'll name who these people are, they're all in finance in one way or another, okay? But the first one here is Amazon. So Philippe Lafont, okay? All of these are in the hundreds of millions of dollars, but he put a major bet. He put a lot of money into Amazon. I don't need to explain what Amazon is and what they do. I think we all know what they do now. And you guys know what my position on Amazon has been from a stock perspective. It changed about a year and a half ago now. I went from a holder of Amazon, someone who was disappointed in Amazon, to someone who was like, okay, finally back to doing what you were supposed to be doing from a investing perspective. But they're up 20% in the last 6 months and up 43% over last year. I think it is a good, solid buy at this point in time. Will that change in the future? We will see. But now, today, I feel a lot more confident if I were to buy Amazon. I'm still holding Amazon. I'm not adding more shares of Amazon. However, I'm not opposed to adding more shares of Amazon. But this is one where I finally feel okay saying, okay, it might be better to add more shares at this point in time. Next here is Microsoft. Now, I've been a long time holder of Microsoft. I've had a video from what feels like decades ago, was really just a few years ago, where I talked about why Microsoft was one of my all-time favorite stocks. Here's the thing. Microsoft has only been up about 12% in the last 6 months, but it is up about 29% over the last year. Stephen Mondale, that should be a name that's familiar to some, especially in the Pennsylvania area-ish, but he added a lot of shares of Microsoft. I think Microsoft is fine. It is not the darling. It is not the leader. It is not also not the most valuable company on the face of the earth. And it used to be at one point in time, very recently. Now it is obviously Nvidia. But I think Microsoft is fine. You want something that is, an old school blue chip that you can relatively rely on. It's hard to rely on anything in the stock market these days, but you want something that you can rely on. This is one of the backbones of my portfolio. Doesn't have to be one in yours, but that is one that I do think you should definitely consider. Now, this is where things start to get interesting, and this is where the returns really start to increase. But before we get there, don't forget that I am still teaching a class on how you can get your first 6 figures in the stock market. Like, how do you start to invest to get that first 6 figures, and what happens when you do? So what do you invest in? How do you understand the stock market, and how do you break it down? That link is right here, so you can either type in that link or you can click on the description below. It's totally free, about 45 minutes or so, and you can sign up again in the link in the description below. All right, next here is Daniel Sondheim, and he invested a ton of money into Google, also known as Alphabet nowadays, but that stock was up 24% in the last 6 months and 53% in the last year. Obviously, they are on a tear, as have all stocks in the tech sector. Hopefully I said that correctly. Next here is David Tepper with Oracle. I think that is a pretty common and famous name. I want to say he bought the Panthers. Maybe. I'm not a Panthers fan, but I'm like 90% sure he was the one who bought the Panthers. But 29% is the gain in the last 6 months, 21% over the last year. Not a stock I'm super excited about. I'm more, I think it's just brand name and familiarity, to be honest with you. I am more Amazon, Google, Microsoft, Nvidia than I am with Oracle. That doesn't make Oracle a bad stock at all. I'm just going with what I know. Again, that is personal brand bias for me, perhaps, but also the returns kind of lean in that direction as well. And they've been that way for quite some time, for as long as I can remember. And then we move into what I think is perhaps my favorite stock. And it's a stock I told y'all about. It's a stock I own. Now I also own Microsoft here and Google too. Okay, but this is one that we have been talking about. We've talked about this in our members only, and that company is Broadcom. AVGO is the stock symbol here, and it was Steve Cohen. He is also an asset manager who bought, I think it was $700 or so million, 732, I think was the number. I'll make sure we have that number on screen if it's not there already. But 33% in the last 6 months at the time that we're doing this video was a gain, and 82% over the last year. I've been talking about this stock for close to a year, if not more than a year, and this stock has done incredibly well, But here is the warning. At this point in time, we are what? Maybe 18 months into an incredible run in technology. And that is great, okay? I've made money on tech. You should have made a lot of money in tech, especially if you are subscribing to this channel. Side note, we are almost at 10,000 subscribers. So if you have not subscribed, this is your chance to do so right now. All right. Now, again, if you are subscribed and you have been a fan of this channel or any channel or just investing in general, you have likely made a ton of money in tech. And again, that is great. However, I'm not telling you to sell all your tech. You should not sell everything. However, you do want to make sure that you rebalance and diversify and put your money in different places. What you don't want to do is have everything in tech and just ride everything until it falls off, okay? We did see this in 2022. We have seen this in the dot-com bust, but you do want to take those gains and say, great, I've made some money. I'm gonna trim this down a little bit and put these in different buckets. This is called rebalancing. This is called diversification. And basically what I'm doing is, for example, with NVIDIA, I put in way back in the day, let's say $1,000, okay? It grows to 5,000. Okay, and what I'm going to do is say, I'm not going to sell it all, but what I'm going to do is say, okay, I have $5,000 now. Let's bring it down to 3, and let's take that and put it in. I'm giving you some examples here. Let's put some in Walmart. Walmart is a different company than tech, and it's doing well. I'm going to put it in an energy stock, NRG or something like that. There's a different company than tech. It is doing well. So I'm taking that money and putting it in different spots that are also doing well, that should tech not do well, should something happen to the tech sector, I'm diversifying that and still putting the money in places that are doing well. I still own tech. Okay, so tech still does well. We all still eating, okay? But you're not just getting hit in one particular sector. And that's going to continue to help your portfolio grow and to help you starve off particular risk in a particular part of the market. The reason why is because should something happen like a chip shortage, which we did have not too long ago, or if there is some supply shortage or something happen in one piece or part of the market, you don't want to have your entire portfolio get hit by that. For example, just the other day, now this was just one company, right? Just one company, CrowdStrike, had that entire outage, and it was a lot of tech companies that were down, Delta Airlines was not doing well, right? But imagine if your entire portfolio was all airlines. Imagine if your entire portfolio, and this was a long-term thing, was all CrowdStrike or all tech and nothing else, and that was a long-term thing. That would be terrible for you, wouldn't it? Right? So you don't want that to happen. So you want to have your tech and you want to have your energy, your consumer stock, and just have things in different buckets. Now, the easiest way to do this is own index funds. Okay, that's the easiest way. There's always the easiest way to do that, 99% of the time. But also, if you're owning individual stocks, have those different buckets. If you want to know different sectors that you want to consider in different areas and different stocks in those different sectors, we have videos on the channel if you want to know what some of those videos are and some easy ways to get to them. You want to check out these videos next.